What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. We are going to take a look at a clip from James the Ramoning Soy Boy O'Brien's LBC show yesterday. This worthless cretin was ramoning his miserable life away as usual, complaining about Brexit and labelling Leave voters snarling spitting imbeciles who didn't vote for the Brexit we are all trying to push for. Let's check it out.
It is the Corbyn story that I'm going to draw your attention to first. And it is a story that... these are the days when I get really at my most despairing, for want of a better word, because maybe there are some people there who are looking at the figures just released regarding our economy and feeling anything other than sadness and disappointment. Maybe there are a few dyed-in-the-wool, quotes, Remainers, end quotes, who do derive some sense of satisfaction from seeing what they have expected to happen. But it makes me really cross that we've been turned into that sort of country. It all began with "you lost, get over it." The idea that a political decision, a political question, when answered by an electorate, somehow reduced us to sort of snarling, spitting imbeciles who didn't really understand anything but knew what we didn't like, and what we didn't like were the people on the other side of this argument. They wouldn't have won without turning us into snarling, spitting imbeciles, of course.
Okay, so it's obvious this clown's caught up on the 0.2% drop in the economy, which he obviously claims is down to Brexit because the BBC told him so, when in actual fact, Bloomberg has reported over the last few days the world's economy is edging towards a recession, which in the UK, a recession is defined as 2 consecutive quarters with negative growth. Yesterday, German industrial figures showed the country is deep in the shit, and reports from Bloomberg also suggest Germany narrowly avoided a recession last year. You will notice how little Jimmy does not mention Germany's factory figures being reported over the last few days as devastating to their economy. Nope, it's all the 0.2% drop here he is concerned with, because admitting the EU's biggest contributor is about to slip into recession would rubbish his whole narrative. He claims to use facts in this segment, not opinion, but you've conveniently left out the fact Germany is deep in the shit right now. This snivelling fuckpig talks about the Ramoners who celebrate the UK economy contracting. Rather than call them out for being worthless shit cunts, he blames the "you lost, get over it" quote because Ramoners never do anything wrong, I guess. He thinks the 2016 vote was a political question, and the answer has turned us all into snarling, spitting imbeciles. No, dickhead. First off, it was not a political question, it was a democratic vote. The vote was, do you want to stay in the EU or do you want to leave? The democratic vote said to leave. What turned these Ramoning fuckpigs into snarling, spitting shit cunts is the mainstream media and politicians who openly wipe their ass with democracy when it does not go their way. Brexit has just brought the Marxists among us out into the open when before they tried to hide themselves. I don't see Brexiteers snarling and spitting at Remainers. I see them laughing at their stupidity and the many stages of meltdowns we have witnessed them go through live on TV. He claims no one understood anything and only dislike each other. No, what created the current animosity is the Ramoners like you claiming we know what Brexiteers did and didn't vote for, and your blatant wish to ignore a democratic vote because you don't like the outcome. Clearly, you don't understand how democracy works, neither do you understand how people take it when you call them stupid. But let's check out the next clip anyway.
But only one half of the election, I'm afraid, only one half of the electorate remains snarling, spitting imbeciles. Everybody else sits here thinking leaving the European Union is clearly a very silly thing to do. It's probably going to happen anyway, and because it's such a silly thing to do, it's going to happen in the most stupid and unmandated of circumstances. People, rather than admitting they're stupid, are going to pretend that they voted for this ridiculous state of affairs. And when news like the economic figures coming down first time since 2012. The only reason they went up last time was because businesses were stockpiling for the prospect of a no-deal Brexit. So the idea that that was good economic news was, I mean, genuinely hilarious. You saw people marching around with their noses in the air. Oh, happy days, this will teach you Project Fair. You go, have you read it? The reason why businesses have spent more money than was predicted is because they now genuinely contemplate the possibility of a kamikaze Brexit and are stockpiling stuff in the first world, in one of the planet's largest economies. We're stockpiling essentials because supply chains that are 30, 40 years in the building are about to be blown up by Boris Johnson. Just think about that for a minute. That's why it went up last time. They're stockpiling stuff because decades-old supply chains, the veritable veins through which the body commercial can function, the arteries that pump products and people to the heart of these fine islands, are being exploded by government policy. That's just a fact. It's not an opinion.
Okay, so everyone who voted Brexit is now spitting idiots, not the rabid Ramonas who scream daily about the disaster of Brexit and how stupid Brexiteers are. No, they don't do that, do they, James? Of course not. The sun shines out of their soy-loving arsehole, don't it? Remainers are all good because they know leaving the EU is a bad idea. Well, how do they know that then? Did Mystic Meg tell them with a crystal fucking ball? I thought you used facts, James. What evidence do you have to back up them claims? Many Ramonas have admitted they don't know if Brexit will be good or bad for the country once we're out. So how do you know? Share this evidence with us, please. Oh no, like the BBC, you just know it or you have an expert that's not been credited. What a surprise. He goes back to telling Brexiteers they didn't know what they voted for and how they are stupid. Yep, it's really the Brexiteers who are snarling spitting imbeciles, isn't it, little Jimmy? You're not sitting there snarling and spitting like an imbecile when you call 17.4 million people stupid, are you, James? Because of course, the soy boys like you can do nothing wrong. I question your level of intelligence when you contradict yourself like that. We have only just started. Please don't make it too easy for me, little Jimmy. Try to remember what you said in the last sentence at least. It's not that hard. It goes back to this claim that economic figures went up because of stockpiling for no deal, which I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. Businesses were not told to prepare for no deal when Maybot was in government, and definitely not in January. The Chancellor admitted this himself. So while some businesses might have prepared, it would not have been done on a widespread scale like it is now because everyone knew Maybot was never going to get us out of the EU, and definitely not on no deal. Why would they prepare for something the government at the time would never do? Of course, little Jimmy tries to correlate the figures from January to March with the no-deal Brexit we're looking at now. Think about that for a minute. He is saying these businesses predicted that Boris Johnson would become Prime Minister 8 months ago and knew he would go for a no-deal Brexit. Of course they fucking didn't, you idiot. How in his little mind did he manage to work that one out is beyond me. When this so-called no-deal planning he's talking about was happening, the government was trying to push through the Maybot deal and had stated they wouldn't leave without a deal. So I'm sorry, that growth cannot be down to people planning for a no-deal Brexit. At that time it was looking like we would get the Maybot deal, which essentially kept us in the EU, so there was nothing to plan for. If this next quarter we're currently in is reported with massive growth, then it might be down to no-deal preparations. But January to March? No, I'm sorry. Everyone knew the UK was not leaving without a deal at the start of 2019. Let's be honest. Little Jimmy then goes on to claim supply chains are going to be bombed by Boris Johnson with a no-deal Brexit. Nice choice of wording there. Once again, he is flat wrong. The ports of Dover and Calais will still be there. Felixstowe Port will still be there. The Channel Tunnel will still be under the English Channel and planes will still fly. They are our supply routes and we can still use them like every other non-EU country. The EU buys a fuckload from the UK, which they will still need after Brexit. He is under the delusional belief that the only way we can trade is from inside the EU. So I'm guessing the EU is entirely self-sufficient in little Jimmy's world then. It trades daily on WTO terms with nearly every nation around the world that are thousands of miles away. We are 24 miles away at the closest point, so I'm sure we will be fine, dickhead. But we do find his real issue with Brexit. It's not the trade goods, it's the end of free movement of people. Idiot, one of the reasons a good portion of the country voted for Brexit is because they didn't want unrestricted immigration from Europe, especially not when it's the EU policy to allow any economic migrant in from any tin pot nation the world over, and then we end up with them here obviously. No fucking thank you. He claims government policy is exploding these trade routes and supply lines. That's not opinion, that is fact. Fuck off, little Jimmy. Last time I checked, Article 50 was not a government policy, it was something voted on by 498 members of Parliament, meaning most of the opposition voted for it as well. So it's actually a parliamentary policy, which states we leave on WTO terms come Halloween, dickhead. That there is a fucking fact, sunshine. I also thought you Ramonas are all about following what Parliament wants. Remember how you all screamed in outrage that Boris might ignore parliamentary votes while you were all trying to ignore what Parliament voted for when they invoked Article 50? What you said was a load of crap. It was just your biased opinion and is flat wrong because the whole Parliament invoked Article 50 that said we leave on no deal. It wasn't Boris Johnson, it wasn't just the Tory party, it was a cross-party deal. Let's move on to the next clip though.
Decades it's taken to build up these chains, and moments it will take to destroy them all. In preparation for that destruction, business does what business always does and seeks to protect itself, seeks to minimise damage, maximise potential profit. And so they spent a ton of money stockpiling stuff that they don't normally need to stockpile because they now believe that the kamikaze Brexit is a real and present danger. And now that the impact of the stockpiling expenditure has dissipated, we're left contemplating an economy that not only reflects international declines and problems. Donald Trump's ludicrous trade war against China is a rock thrown into the pond of international business without any real definitive analysis of where the ripples may lead. All we can say for certain is that there will be ripples. Productivity declining, the car industry in all sorts of problems all over the world, not just here, but we magnify everything with Brexit. So you take a problem, then you take the magnifying glass of Brexit. Well, it's not even a magnifying glass, it's like something out of Alice in Wonderland. It's the eat me cake, isn't it? Which one made her grow? One pill makes me smaller. Which one made her grow? That's what we do. We take any problem now, commercially, economically, arguably even socially and politically, take any problem and we inject it with hormones called Brexit. And it makes every problem bigger than it would be without. Nobody suggests that if we weren't leaving the European Union, there wouldn't be any problems. Right? No one. The only people that even frame that argument are people on the wrong side of it, claiming that that's what the people on the other side are doing. They're not. And today, the same people are claiming that people on the right side of history are somehow going to be celebrating economic decline or trying to attribute it all to Brexit. This is what we set in motion when we allowed "you lost, get over it" to be a valid contribution to the national conversation. "You lost, get over it" is a phrase uttered only by people who can't tell you what they want. It is the ultimate Brexit fig leaf. We won. What did you win? It. Yes, but what's the price? It. We won the referendum. Yeah, but what did you actually win? Well, and then we joked for a year about fish and blue passports. That's not funny anymore, is it? So what did you actually win? You didn't even win that. Immigration. Oh, the Prime Minister's just removed the cap because he's worried that people that we need. He's now worried that the people we need aren't going to come here, because government policy, until he announced plans to change it, wouldn't have let them.
Well, he is still stuck on the ridiculous news about stockpiling stuff when we wasn't even preparing for a no-deal Brexit. Back then, we was looking at a deal or the extension we ended up with, as I've said. What was they stockpiling for? Philip Hammond admitted to deliberately not preparing for no deal, remember? The mainstream media reported that themselves. We all know this soy boy is LBC Radio's doom and gloom merchant though, so he won't talk about anything that rubbishes his narrative. He briefly glosses over the fact that the world is suffering an economic slowdown or negative growth like we are, but he still has to blame that on Brexit because of course, Brexit made it rain last night. Or his next one will be Brexit caused an earthquake in Japan. Who knows with this idiot? I'm really getting sick of these Ramonas talking about the car industry though, which if I'm not wrong, is not even the British car industry anymore, but the European car industry. Do we even make and sell affordable British cars these days? I thought European companies had bought out all of the British car manufacturers. So this arsehole is sitting there using the profits of a foreign company against the people of this country. Sorry, but we already know the price of a family car might go up by £1,000. Big fucking deal. How many people are buying a new car more than once every few years? It's hardly reasons to stop democracy, is it, fuckpig? He thinks because of this Brexit situation, we take any problem and inject it with hormones. No, little Jimmy, you're wrong again. The mainstream media, politicians and fuckpigs like you run around making up problems to push your pathetic scare stories. It's not injected with hormones. These imaginary problems are exacerbated by your soy-induced delusions you spout on Twitter and the Project Fear campaigns you promote on your radio show and other fuckers promote on the telly. I love how he calls Brexiteers people on the wrong side of history. When I last checked, in a democracy, the winners of a vote are on the right side of history. The losers who complain and want to wipe their ass with democracy are on the wrong side of it. That's why they have people like Joe Swinson, the commie cumbucket who doesn't believe in democracy and wants to ignore the democratic wish of the people. He seems to think everyone who says you lost, get over it, can't tell you what they want. Well, I'm telling you now, you lost, Get over it, soy boy. And I'll also tell you what I want. I want a WTO Brexit if the EU are not willing to give us a free trade deal that includes no requirements to listen to any EU law ever and is a deal worth the money we will have to pay for it. I don't care if it's a free trade deal before or after Brexit, but it must only be a free trade deal. No free movement of people, and the EU keeps its nose out of UK affairs. It's not hard. Most Brexiteers will want the same or something similar, I would expect. They wanted the same thing in 2016, and we ain't going to stop wanting it. A free trade deal will benefit the EU also. It's not a one-way street, but they wanted the Maybot deal because it benefited them in every way. They are forcing no deal, not us. He claims Brexiteers don't know what they voted for and won't get anything that they were promised because Boris is removing the cap. Well, last time I checked, the cap Boris removed is about the international immigrants, like doctors from India and engineers from elsewhere. Brexit had nothing to do with international applications to work here, you fucking idiot. That is a completely separate system, since these people are from outside of Europe and have to pass UK checks. Not just walk through Europe to get here on the first boat they find in France. International workers have to pass fairly strict criteria to live and work here, so only the best get to come. That is a merit-based system where we can choose the best at a given field to bring something valuable to the country. Unlike the EU migration system that lets unskilled workers come here because jobs pay more here. Brexit is leaving the EU and its ridiculous policies on immigration, not banning immigration completely, you idiot. Plus, Boris has actually said it will make it easier for the best and brightest to get a visa, not that he's going to open the doors to everyone around the world. But does this guy ever say anything that is true? Probably not. Let's check out the final clip.
So in a sensible universe, right, the idea that a prime minister with the votes of tens of thousands of Conservative Party members propelling him into Downing Street, a withdrawal agreement, or I think that the triggering of Article 50, I think, and listen, this problem with an unwritten constitution is, of course, that the words aren't written down, so there's an awful lot of room for analysis and interpretation. But I think that it is on November the 1st or October the 31st, with a withdrawal agreement and political declaration in place, we leave the European Union. I think. I could be wrong about that. I'm sure you'll correct me very quickly if I am. So even that isn't... I'll tell you what it is now. You can tell I'm going on holiday later. I'm allowing myself a right old wander around the houses this morning. What it is now, this is whatever the opposite of binary is. Don't say digital. The opposite of binary. See, where we are now is by offering the country a straight choice between black and white. We ignored the existence of grey areas. The country is now consigned to the grey areas for the foreseeable future, culminating in the possibility of an unmandated Prime Minister claiming to have some sort of public support for a policy that everybody on the Leave side swore blind would never happen. Again, you say these words out loud and you wonder, well, not for the first time, why everyone else can't see that the Emperor is naked. Everyone on the Leave side swore blind that no deal wasn't going to happen, pretty much, a figure of speech. You had written down descriptions of the circumstances in which we would leave. You had Michael Gove saying on the record that we would dictate the terms. So if you voted to leave because you listened to Michael Gove say we would dictate the terms of any future trade agreement, you didn't vote to leave in the way that we're now going to leave. If you voted to leave because you heard Nigel Farage say that we could be like Norway or Switzerland and you believed him, you didn't vote to leave in the way that we're going. It doesn't matter, I still voted to leave. Why? Well, all the stuff that they told me wasn't true. So Jeremy Corbyn, a uniquely ill-equipped individual, perhaps, to pull this off, given that his resistance to the Brexit politicking has been non-existent, has called on Britain's most senior civil servant to intervene to stop Boris Johnson forcing a no-deal Brexit in the middle of an election campaign. And I don't even know what question to ask you anymore. Because are we going to be able to have an intelligent debate about this, or are we simply going to make our point according to whether or not we can admit that the Brexit we voted for is never going to happen yet? Because if you can't admit that yet, then you will think that Jeremy Corbyn is doing something wrong. If you can admit that, you'll recognise it's not even controversial to suggest that a Prime Minister shouldn't be able to enact the single most important piece of policy this country has ever seen in peacetime without the support of an electorate and or the country. Well, 17.4 million people did vote for it. They categorically didn't. They were, each and every one of them sold a Brexit that was described and defined and detailed. It was... the easiest deal in human history. It was something that would allow us to set the terms in our own economic interest. It was going to be like Switzerland. It was going to be like Norway. It would allow us to somehow free up £350 million. Every single line was a lie or a mistake, to be kind. And now we're having a debate about whether or not it would be right or wrong of the leader of the opposition to oppose a prime minister with no mandate, undertaking a policy that precisely nobody voted for.
Right, so the start of that clip made no fucking sense whatsoever. You would think he did not have a fucking clue what he's talking about, the way he flip-flopped from one point to another. He starts with how Boris got elected Prime Minister, then goes on to wrongly state Article 50 needs a withdrawal act and political declaration with it for us to leave, blaming it on the unwritten constitution, which is nonsense. Article 50 is written down and in law. It states we leave on the 31st of October 2019 with or without a deal. You can tell he knows he's wrong because he preempts the incoming calls from viewers that are going to point that out to him, before quickly switching the subject again, blaming he's flip-flopping on going on holiday. No, little Jimmy, you're going round the houses either because you're trying to avoid saying anything that might harm your narrative, or you don't have a fucking Scooby-Doo what you're talking about, mate. I think your Brexit derangement syndrome has taken over your mind at this point. He claims because the referendum was just vote leave or vote remain, it's a bad thing that has caused all this bullshit in the last 3 years. No, it's not the vote's fault that the losers in that vote could not take the result and have spent the last 3 years attacking Brexiteers and spouting constant Project Fear bullshit on the TV and radio. There are no grey areas and it's not black and white either. The vote is done. One side won, that is the end of it. There can be no grey areas. The vote finished 52 to 48%. Democracy has spoken. The only problem is, fuck pigs like Little Jimmy and Toe Swinson wouldn't respect the vote if there was 10 referendums and they all voted leave, because they don't believe in democracy at all. He thinks because the Leave side did not say about no deal, that makes it okay to stop Brexit, I guess. We all know it was discussed, it was a policy for fuck's sake. No deal is better than a bad deal, remember? And even if it wasn't, like he said, the question was, leave or remain. Leave won, so that is what needs to happen. You know, in order to respect the democratic wish of the people? The support for a WTO Brexit is clear. Take a look at the Brexit Party's performance in the EU elections. They smashed it by some distance, with the sole policy that is to leave the EU on WTO terms. The Tory membership voted Boris in, who said no deal is the default if the EU won't negotiate. So I would say, there is public support for a WTO Brexit. What was said during the referendum is irrelevant. What happens now is all that matters. But no, this worthless fuckpig Little Jimmy thinks if you listen to Michael Gove and other Brexiteers, you didn't vote to leave. I'm pretty sure they all ticked the box that said leave, so they voted for leave. Where the fuck does this guy get his delusions from? It's incoherent nonsense you'd expect to hear from a mental patient at the local insane asylum. How is this idiot on national radio? The reason people voted to leave is because they did not want to be in the EU anymore. I expect it had nothing to do with what any MP said. Most people just dislike the EU, and have done for many years. How do you think Farage made his name, you fucking idiot? At the end of that clip, this dickhead thinks it's right for Corbyn to try and block a no-deal Brexit because Boris Johnson plans to enact government policy during an election campaign, once again completely omitting the fact Boris would be implementing a parliamentary policy, voted in by 498 cross-party MPs, including Jeremy Corbyn himself, and forced to be voted on by Gina the Spunk Trumpet Miller, remember. Boris is doing what Parliament voted for, and now you lot are complaining. Oh, the fucking irony. You moan when he ignores Parliament, and now you moan when he wants to do what they all voted for. Make your fucking mind up, will you? Oh no, you can't. You Ramone for the sake of Ramoning. Of course, he goes straight back to the claims that 17.4 million people didn't vote for Brexit in October. No, they voted for it 3 years ago, and it's already been delayed twice. Now it just needs to get done. The Boris Johnson government claims to be doing its best to try and stop Brexit from being delayed again by taking us out on WTO terms come Halloween. Little Jimmy's final words in this segment is that Boris is doing something no one voted for, which is once again wrong. I've said it multiple times, 498 MPs voted for Article 50 to be invoked. So I would say Parliament has instructed Boris to WTO Brexit this bitch. Well, I'm going to end the video there. I can't listen to any more of this whining soy boy. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below about this worthless fuckpig's incoherent babble. I'm sure it will be comedy gold. Don't forget to leave a toes up, subscribe and share this video as it helps the channel a lot, and I will see you all in the next one.